Stefano, I appreciate you joining the podcast, man. I've been following your social media content for a while. I really think the content you post is interesting, intriguing, and pretty thought-provoking. So I appreciate you for joining, man.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I'm excited to be here and see where this conversation goes.
Absolutely. So your social media presence is kind of centered around fitness and diet and health. Assuming you've been in the game for a long time, is this kind of your life passion?
I would say absolutely. Like I've been doing sports since I was like 5 years old with karate, taekwondo, and then tennis. And I wish, man, that I would have thought of being a personal trainer or studying sport earlier in time. But actually, now I'm 29 now, and I realized that I wanted to pursue my passion in sport through making it my career only at 24 years old, something like that. Yeah.
And what was that reason? Why did you want to make that switch?
So basically, I've been a bartender. I've been a bartender since 19 years old, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun, especially because in school, I've studied to be a mechanic, right? Like machines in a factory, like programming these machines. And I remember going to company to do a trial to work with them. And I was like, man, this is not my place. Like, I don't want to be surrounded by men and machines all day. So I realized I wanted to do something else, something that was in contact with other people and that was fun. I didn't feel that much as work. And so I pursued the bartending career. I did a course and I liked it, I liked the ambient, and my long-term goal was actually to open my own bar, right? And in all of this period, I would keep training and stay fit, but then, as I move forward in hospitality and being a bartender, I realized that, man, this whole industry is completely, fucked. You don't find peace in these places, like you work with drunk people and things break and it's just a mess. And there's also people doing drugs, and so it's not the best environment, and it's not smooth. So I started to understand that I actually there has been something that happened in my life that made me realize that there wasn't a good environment, and that was lower back problems. So I started to have lower back problems, and the cause was a mixture between not lifting with good technique with some squats, but that was actually some little incident that happens, but mainly was standing all of these hours, like you do 50, 60 hours standing, and then you need to lift boxes and stuff like that. So I started to struggle with back pain a lot, and I would go to work with this back pain, and every movement I would do, it was very sharp and painful. And I started to think, is this my life? Like, breaking my back to make someone else rich, and being in this environment where I really don't have any control, because something that I hated, especially in the place I've worked, and most of them were like this, and you don't know where you're going home. When you work night, cocktail bartender, you've got no clue when you go home, So there I realized I wanted to pursue something that was more, that I really like. I was more passionate about. And because of my back pain, I stopped doing weights and I started calisthenics. So because weights were triggering my lower back pain, and I thought, okay, so I cannot touch weight. What can I do? And I started to do body weight training, and I started to enjoy it, get passionate about calisthenics, and this is how I decided to pursue my career as a personal trainer.
You said before we started the podcast that you live in Spain. Is health and nutrition pretty prominent in your area? because where I live in the United States, I live in Houston, Texas, so there's a very large presence of health and fitness. The Alpha Land gym is in the Houston area. Is it kind of similar where you're at?
I mean, if you compare it with other areas of Italy, for example, I'm from Italy, like the south of Italy, it's definitely not as fitness oriented than south of Spain. So I would say, yeah, I mean, if you go by the beach, there's a lot of people running and parents running with the pushchair with the children there. So I would say that there's also people playing volleyballs, and doing sports on the beach. So I would say yes.
Yeah. And do you concentrate? Like, do you have a target audience that you try to hit, or are you kind of open and welcoming to all demographics?
All right, so that's a kind of a loaded question for me.
Okay.
Because part of I do my coaching now all online, and I became vegan 5 years ago, and I also decided to become an animal rights activist. So basically, I only work with vegans now, and all my work is online. And the reason why I work with vegans only, it's because I kind of prioritize the conversation about animal rights. And that's so what happens basically. So, and you would say, like, so why do you not want to work with someone that's not vegan? And it's because usually when you do hold people accountable about their action and talk about the consequences of eating animal products and present it as something wrong, people can either be open to change or get upset. So that's one of the reasons. But I do accept clients that are open to being vegan, and they're kind of into a process. But I say, yeah, I want to be vegan, but not vegan yet, and I will work with them.
Do you think that you're kind of siloing yourself out from other people that you may potentially could have a positive impact on with your animal rights view? Maybe someone is a meat eater or a carnivore, and you could potentially have a positive impact on them with your, some of your thoughts and views. But since you only talk to vegans, do you think you could be like reaching another market if you?
I mean, I definitely don't only talk to vegan. Like, through my marketing in Instagram, I have many conversations with non-vegans, actually. And when I talk about fitness, like training and nutrition, I don't necessarily, especially when I talk about training, obviously, I don't necessarily talk about veganism, right? So I'm still helping people that's not vegan. And I definitely reach them.
That's good. What was the reason you went vegan? Was it for animal rights or more for health, or both?
Well, actually, I would say that has never been for health. It started with the environment. And so here's where we have to be doing this distinction, because vegan is a ethical position when you want to avoid participating to animal exploitation. And then we have plant-based. Plant-based when you optimize your diet, so most of your food comes from plants for health or environment. Why that is an important distinction to make? Because you cannot be 50-50 against animal cruelty. You gotta be 100%, right? So that's why you cannot be. On the other side, if we look at the environmental and health side of plant-based diet or whatever, veganism, it's fine if you still have animal products on your routine, right? If you have some percentage of animal product, you're still going to have a positive impact on the environment and on your health, eating more fruit and vegetables. So when when I first became vegan, I became plant-based, and I watched a documentary called Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy, and I'm always being this guy a little bit that wanted to be not different, but skeptical about what everyone is doing. You know, always kind of question things, and realizing that there's such a huge impact from producing animal products. One of those impacts that shocked me the most was the fact that 50% of the Amazon forest has been destroyed, and about 90% of it is because of crops, specifically soy crops that is going to feed animals. And, you know, for me, that was enough to say, whoa, I don't want to be part of this. You know, if all I have to do is change my diet. I also had this way of thinking that it would be very healthy to eat only fruit and vegetables. You know, I didn't do it for that reason, but it was something that was going on in my mind for a period of time. And I don't know if I said it already, but what got me to start this plant-based journey was watching Cowspiracy. It's a documentary on Netflix. And now there is also Seaspiracy, which is even more scarier. Have you seen that?
Oh, dude, I love Seaspiracy.
Great.
Yeah, it's a very good documentary. I watched Cowspiracy as well. So I guess I should tell you, I am not a vegan. You probably guessed that by now, but I don't have any qualms or issues with people that are vegans. But I read the book by Jane Buxton. Do you know who that is? She's a really good author out of the UK, and she just released a book. I said just released, but I think it's been out for about a year now, and it's called The Greatest Plant-Based Con. And the book is divided into large sections of health, environmental, footprint, animal agriculture, and it just breaks down kind of all the statistics that are said in Cowspiracy. I watched Cowspiracy too, and I was like, holy crap, is this true or not? But according to Jane and her metrics that she used in her books, a lot of that is inaccurately represented. It's true, but only if you look at half of the data. And especially like blue and green water. Like, I think Cowspiracy, one of the sections talked about animal agriculture consumes a lot of water. And I think they just kind of gloss over that, but they don't differentiate between blue and green water very well. So that was kind of one of the sections. Yeah. I'm not a statistical expert. I'm not going to sit here and debate you on it.
Me neither. Yeah, we're not going to debate about it. I heard these, but you know, like logically speaking, we have 3 trillion animals in the animal agriculture industry, including marine animals, and it just makes sense that feeding all of these animals is not sustainable. You know, like it's just logical for me. You know, I don't really need studies, so yeah.
No, I agree. I think the way we are performing agriculture today is bastardized and backwards, and it's not sustainable, and it's leading to climate erosion, you know, your animal rights issues that you post on your social media. That's clearly a byproduct of the way we do agriculture today. So I agree. Yeah, I don't think that's sustainable, but I think there are other better methods that mimic older ways and older kind of the Native American principles. I'm sure you heard of the term regenerative agriculture. That I don't want to say mimic Mother Nature, but it's as close to it as we can get. that it's not monoculture crops and stuff like that. Have you looked into anything around regenerative agriculture or sustainable agriculture?
I had a debate with a carnivore, about this, and let's say it makes sense. All right. Here's the thing: we can. My point there is, well, first of all, it's not it's not something practical to offer to the world right now. Buy only regenerative, farmed meat, right? It's not something. It's not a good message to ask people to do. But what I'm saying is, if we care about animals, all right, and we also care about the environment, so the solution is not farming cows in a regenerative way. The solution is farming plants in a way that's sustainable and has less suffering. So, and I also don't think it's a good idea. I mean, there is not enough land for that. I know carnivores say yes, but I don't think it's true. Because there are only some areas, I guess, on the world when you can put these cows. So
that's true. That's true. There's only certain regions in the world that are better suited for ruminant animals and crops too. I mean, in planted crops. Do you think that we could do both? Do you think we can use plants and animals to improve our ecosystem? Like plants have a very important reason, photosynthesis and all that, but animals play a very critical role in the life cycle of the plants too.
I mean, the thing is, when you use the word, should we use animals, you're talking about that, using them. Will we use the same for humans? Should we use humans, to pursue these benefits, without recognizing their wills to be free, right? So I don't think we should use animal in any way. Just like we don't use dogs. I mean, it's true that most people adopt a dog, buy a dog because they want company, and that's the reason why many dogs are, abandoned, right? But not every people abandon those dogs. You got other people that get the dog and realize, oh shit, this is a little guy that's, it's a family member, right? And they start to have this connection that they are nothing, they're not individual, and they just deserve to be looked after, just like we do with babies and maybe old people. So, and I don't see how really, like, animals, like farmed animals especially, will help with the environment. I think it will be just the opposite, because we will have more land with less animals in animal agriculture.
That's an interesting thought. So I visited Rome Ranch in Fredericksburg, Texas, and it's a multi-generational or multi-species regenerative ranch, and they have bison on the land. And I talked to the head land steward there, and he was saying, if you can't, like, in order to really have a positive impact to our community and our ecosystem, he would rather you hunt for your land. I mean, for your meat. So if you can go hunting for your meat, provide your family with meat that way, then that would be the most optimal way. And if you can't do that, then go buy from your local farmer. If you don't live near a local farmer, then there's this option that some farmers are providing that's regeneratively raised meat, which I think is a better option than conventional farming from the CAFOs, from the factory farming methods. Do you think there's a differentiation between the two, between a factory farm and, a place that practices, paddock? Do you know what paddock grazing is?
No.
It's where they rotate the animals. So like Rome Ranch, they rotate the bison You know, I don't know what the yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
what the
I think
frequency is. So they move them from lot to lot across the ranch. Do you think that's a
so. It
better
can the grass can regrow.
regrow? It's not overgrazing. It's good for the animals. It's good for the grass. Blah blah blah. Do you think that's a better way than the factory farming?
Well, why do you think it's a better way?
It looks better if you go visit the land and you see the animals. They look healthier. The grasses. It doesn't look like the It doesn't look like it's been overgrazed. So I live in Texas. My family has been in agriculture my entire life. Right? We've done cows, we've done hay, we've done all of it. I've been around it my entire life. But it's very conventional. It's very conventional farming. It's like keep the cows in the same pasture for a long time, let them overgraze, and then once December comes around, we bring in hay, and then they feed the hay and blah blah blah. It's same old, same old. And if I go visit my family's land, it looks drastically different than the regenerative ranch. It almost looks more like a natural Mother Nature setting would look like a a pasture land actually looks like, supposed to look like, and the animals look better. And they're not using antibiotics. They're not in close proximity. They're not shitting on each other or anything like that. It looks better. There's a different feeling when you go on a place like that versus I haven't visited a factory farm, but I imagine there's a very desolate, deathly feeling when you visit a place like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, factory farm absolutely. They squeezed in very small environment and not looked after. You will find always sick animals left to die on their own species. It's absolutely horrible. So and would you then sell those cows in your ranch?
My
To your
parents,
family?
um, my parents, yeah, they'll take them to the auction and they'll sell them. It just depends. My family, it's not a big operation, so it's a small scale operation compared to that regenerative ranch that is a big, big scale. Just on a they have more acreage than my family.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So you could say that it's better. For the animals are at least not suffering as much with reduced suffering. That's very good. But uh, what you are doing then, we are sending them to a slaughterhouse and taking away all they have. And the question we need to ask ourselves is why, and is it necessary? And in this era, we know that it's not necessary for nothing. We don't need to animals food to survive. And if you think about it this way, like you are taking care of an animal and is happier, is not scared, is actually free to move in, let's say, a very huge field, perhaps recognizes you as a good person. And then what you do is using that trust that the animal has in you to get it up on a truck and send him to a slaughterhouse. So is that good?
Well, nature is rough, man. So I would say that in a regenerative, sustainable agriculture place where the animals are cared for, like the places that I visited that are regeneratively managed, I would say that's probably the better life than if they were just roaming free on a pasture, getting tore down by coyotes or wolves or bobcats. A pack of wolves can really do destruction on a cow. And that's a slow death. So I would say if compared to that kind of death versus the farmer doing the deed himself or herself, I would say that's probably the better option.
But there is another option, which is not killing.
Well, if we don't kill, nature is going to kill it, right?
Well, that's correct. Depends, because these days it's probably, there would be a switch on the destiny of that cow. That cow would probably go into a sanctuary these days. Or the whole ranch would become a sanctuary. It wouldn't just go into the wild. But the thing is, we cannot play God and decide what happens, right? And if you take the same situation, like let's say you go to Philippines, in Manila, and I've been there, and you go in one of these very poor neighborhood, and these kids abused by the mafia there. So what you do is you take one of these kids, you get them to America, give them a better life, but you sexually abuse them. And for the rest of the time, like once per week, sexually abuse them, and the rest of her life, it's amazing. Is that one time per week justified?
Well, man, that's a pretty big stretch for me to. To me, that's not like the same. That's completely. That's not even like on the same realm to me. That's like they're talking about something ethically, morally wrong versus something that is going to ultimately, like if I don't kill a deer for my family this year, that deer is going to die either by a coyote, a bobcat, someone's going to hit it with a car or a truck, and it's just going to be left on the side of the road. So I don't know. I think that's a bad example. I think it's totally different.
What's different?
Well, we're talking about providing food for a family versus like molesting a kid or something. I think it's a lot different.
Yeah, but we need to consider like if that's necessary. So is it necessary to eat meat?
I think there are some people, and again, I'm an idiot, Stefano. I'm not a doctor whatsoever, but I think there's some people that can truly thrive on a vegan diet. And I have a buddy of mine that did vegan for a few years. He even did the fruitarian diet. He did nothing but fruit for a long time. I think there are people that can sustain a vegan diet and with proper supplementation, and they're checking their blood work. I think it's sustainable for some people. Do you think everyone can live on a vegan diet?
That's not necessarily what I think. We have the biggest organization in the world that support that. You have the American Association of Dietitians that has more than 100,000 nutritionists and dietitians that support the fact that a well-planned vegan diet is okay for every stages of life, including athletes, elderly people, kids, pregnancy, and also, and this is of course if you focus on plants and not the processed one, it has been shown to help to reduce cardiovascular diseases specifically. So, in my opinion, yes, everyone can be vegan. And also, in my experience, I've met some very difficult vegans, meaning like they were intolerant to gluten, and they couldn't eat strawberries, and they couldn't eat black blueberries or maize. They had all of these intolerances, and they still were doing good on a vegan diet.
Sometimes I feel like the vegan and the carnivore community is almost like the Republican and the Democrat Party in the United States. Like they're just
right. You're absolutely right, and I think, and I listened a very interesting sentence just a few days ago on a reel. Like, why there's these people talking about completely different diet, opposite diet, they fighting against each other, but you find people on a vegan diet that's doing amazing, to find people on the carnivore diet that's doing amazing, and which by the way, only meat. I think it's not good. There's also Paladino, which is one of the biggest influencer about carnivore diet, and he had some testosterone tests, and he said when he was just eating meat, actually his testosterone level were low, and now he starts to eat fruits and honey, I think, with of course most meat, and his testosterone levels went up. So just meat, I don't think that's a good idea. Just meat, but carnivore diet with fruit and whatever is fine. But I think what's really make us healthy, or these people that say they go healthy, they're going vegan or going carnivore, is because they come from a background or of highly processed food and very unhealthy way of eating. So when you embrace a diet that promotes a better way of eating, especially eliminating processed food, I think that's you. Can you hear me? I think my.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wait a second.
Okay.
Let's record.
Oh, you got the big boys on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can hear you.
So what I was saying is that you got this person that start eliminating their processed food from their diet, and so this is what makes them healthier. And I also think that there's a lot of focus in the diet, but I think like physical activity is what makes you very, very healthy as well. I think and there are studies on this that people that smoke and are active are overall healthier than sedentary people.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've seen some of those studies that you're talking about. Yeah, I agree with you, Stefano. I think when people make a switch, and let's say one person's going to switch and go to a vegan diet, and they do away with the processed foods, and they do away with sugar and really the Cokes and the bad stuff, and it starts working for them, and they start to see improvements, and then they become ideologically bound to this belief of this is what works because it worked for me. And I think people, that's happened on the carnivore too. They've switched away from the bad foods, and now they're on the carnivore diet, eating bacon and steaks every day, and they're reducing inflammation. Their skin looks better, and a lot of it probably just has to do with because they're not consuming so much damn sugar. But they're seeing all these great results. I'm like of the mindset of it's got to be somewhere in the middle. Like I don't think
I believe the human body can adapt to different things. I believe physical activity is crucial for your health, and that's why I never really talk about go vegan because it's healthier and you get these health benefits. I never really go there because again, I really think it's a group of things that you need to do in life to be a healthy individual, and that's why it becomes an ethical position that if you can be healthy and you don't need to consume animal products, then why are we sending these cows to slaughterhouse?
Yeah, no, that's one thing that we'd have to really take a look at and address is the way that agriculture was performed today. In your vegan diet, like what does a typical day look like?
Just understand, like as of right now, like do you truly feel like how sure you are that you are okay with killing an animal? Would you do it yourself?
What do you mean? Like if I'm okay with it?
I mean, you're saying like you're promoting a better treatment for the animals with regenerative agriculture, but you're still saying that it's okay to send them to a slaughterhouse for meat. So the thing with the reality we live in is that there is a huge disconnection. All right, most people will never kill an animal. but the
Well,
meat dairy and eggs industry, they have done a very good job with disconnecting the people from the process. So they just see a product,
yeah, no, I
right?
agree.
So what I want to know from you is, are you connected or disconnected from that? Like, would you kill an animal yourself?
Well, I think you hit on some very important topics, Stefano. We are so disconnected from the entire life cycle of an animal and plants. And most people in the United States, I think the statistic is something crazy around 95% of Americans have never stepped foot on a farm. So no one.
I don't.
Yeah. So yeah. So have you ever been on any kind of farm or any type of ranch or anything like that?
That's a that's a good question. Well, not a proper farm, but that's a good question because I think it's interesting to understand where I come from before I was vegan, especially when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, all the people around me, they had family farm. They had chickens, they had rabbits, um, and they were mainly living in cages. Cages. I think rabbits they were for sure in cages. Maybe the chickens usually were free, but the rabbits were in cages. I would see them, kill them, and skin them. So I was used to see these, and I also and this was, I don't know why. Maybe it's my way of being. I also got ADHD. So when I was a kid, maybe I was kind of zoning out from this situation. That happens when you are ADHD. So I don't think I was very uncomfortable. But I was a bit uncomfortable watching the blood. But for sure, I was uncomfortable when I once watched a pig being killed. And this farmer, I was in this another family farm, and with my mom, and in this farmer, told my mom that the kid got to watch. So this is what happens: is we get conditioned to violence. So I'm watching this guy cutting the pig throat, and the pig was screaming, and I remember it was very disturbing to to watch. But at the same time, because it's everything that happens around us, I accepted it as a reality of it. So I actually, before making this connection with the animals, I was what you call species. Species is the discriminatory kind of way of thinking towards animals. Racism, sexism, speciesism.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And, yeah. And I remember going to my cousin house, and he had a rabbit as a pet. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, we should have the rabbit as dinner. Why are you having this rabbit as a pet? When I was a kid, I would see rabbit being skinned alive. They cannot be friends, right? They are food. And even when I was plant-based for the environment, for me it was for the environment because I wanted to do something good. And then there was my girlfriend, and she was also starting to get plant-based and stuff. But for her, it was about health. So it was about her. And she said something like, "What about the cows?" My brain straight away said, "I don't know. Like they are, they're food, right? I mean, that's why they're there." And it's not like that, man. It's not like that. And I just needed words. I just needed words. From an activist that told me, they are persons just like us. They're different. They don't speak. They have hair, but the experience is just the same experience that you're having. Maybe less complex, but they wake up in the morning and they go to drink water because they're thirsty, and they go to eat because they're hungry. They play with you. They're tired. They get scared. So then. And in that moment, I just adopted my dog, and so she was on the sofa, And I was making this connection. In that moment, I would recognize the person she was. Like, she was just chilling on the sofa, just like you chill on the sofa. And so making this connection and then watching Slaughterhouse footage. Have you ever watched Slaughterhouse footage?
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. No, I'm disgusted by it.
So, one of the most common way of killing pigs is a gas chamber. So I was looking at this gas chamber, and this is where I made that connection, I already knew you could live plant-based. So, I was just shocked, and I really finally made the connection and get out of that way of thinking that animal are products. They're not, or better, the animal products are just products. They're not just products. They are animals who have suffered and lost their life.
Yeah, I respect your position, Stefano, and I think, going back to what you asked me, if I'm comfortable with death, I think that everyone in America, at least, is really disconnected with the raising and the butchering of the animals. We just see a package of food and that's what we see, and we don't even know the process of extracting the vegetables or the animals from the farm. But are you aware that a large proportion of animals die when extracting vegetables from farms and planting?
To a degree, I know. Again, I think.
So hold on. Well, and the reason I wanted to say that is because humans, no matter what we do, but in order to feed anybody, an animal has to die somehow. Whether it's you're going to feed yourself plants or I'm going to feed myself a deer that I hunt, an animal is going to die one way or another.
Do you think we have gotten to the moon? Do you think we are not smart enough to grow vegetables without killing animals?
Well, you can grow vegetables, but are you going to say that everyone's going to grow their own vegetables, or are you going to have a farm grow a large amount of vegetables? So it depends. It depends, like, how you're asking the question. If you want if you want to take away a farm, all the animals from a farm, and replace all the cows in the pastures and replace it with vegetables, you're going to displace a lot of animals. And then when you extract those vegetables or those plants from that piece of land, you're going to be killing animals. Have you ever seen a tractor going through a field?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen, and you see the birds, all types of birds waiting for that tractor to go through the field because it's about to murk the snakes, the groundhogs. It's going to, wherever that tractor is going to extract all the plants, it's destructing everything in its path. That's soil. It's the animals. It's everything living in that place where the crops were planted. So
I've been lately. This is like the elite argument against veganism. So I've been an activist for like 2-3 years, and this is something that's coming up lately. The first thing I want to say is that no, I'm not okay with it. Like, I'm not okay with animals being killed, but there are different points that I think I can address. So the first one is it's not that many animals. Like when carnivore address this, there's like you need to kill everything. Like if the farmer does that intentionally, but it does. First of all, it doesn't do it intentionally. Second of all, these animals are not stupid. These animals run away, and here's it's a very important point that so there is a difference between killing animal intentionally and unintentionally, because if we just do unintentionally, but intentionally we want to create a system where we don't harm animals, then we can have kind of the same mentality as people that have regenerative farm with cows. So moving towards a world where we're trying to minimize or eliminate suffering from other beings. But we need to have that mentality where we want to move towards a world where we don't exploit animals. And the other thing, and this is something that I heard from another activist that's interesting, you don't really know what causes less harm. And I don't think that's necessarily a good argument, because for me, the solution would be like moving towards systems where you are minimizing the harm of animals and insects. But we don't really know if there was more or less harm in the wild compared to where you put the farm, like the plant farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't really know where there is more or less killing. If in the agriculture, the plant farming and the plant crop, or if you would have the wild in it. Make sense?
No, I see what you're saying. And it does make sense to a point. But I guess some people get lost into like what is an animal? I think that gets lost into the discussion too, because then we got to start talking about everything. And I've witnessed how many animals are impacted when, hay is cut up on fields. And it could be from, squirrels, and it could be all the way down to some type of ugly little marsupial, and it bugs. And so it just depends. Like, I think, carnivores will make the argument that by numbers, that there's a large proportion of animals that get slaughtered when plants are extracted from fields. And then plant-based or the vegan community will say that it's not that much. Either way, it's still happening. So I like to say that, well, I'm not killing them because I'm not actually holding a gun to their head and shooting them. Maybe you're not, but you're still doing it. You still have an impact. So it's like, whose is worse? Whose is better? I'm not going to argue that. But I've witnessed, large amounts of animals dying when plants are extracted from the field.
Okay. So you witnessed the stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me the intention is important. I must say I'm also not clear, because I hear the carnivores being very extreme about this, and then
what do they say? What do they say about it?
Well, there are two things that for me are a bit weird to hear. That first of all, that to kill less animals, you need to eat animals, right? So basically they say that by being a carnivore, you're killing less animals because of the crop deaths. But that might be true for a hunter, okay? But sharing this message with a population that live in civilized cities and go to the supermarket, when you are buying animal products, piece of meat, this cow had to eat plants. So you're still including 16 times more, this is stat that I read, 16 times more crop deaths than eating the plant directly. And so, and just the concept of saying that you kill less animals by eating animals doesn't really make sense to me.
That does sound kind of funny to say, but maybe what they're talking about is like the worms that get killed, because when you plant crops, even you plant a field of cotton, that field of cotton is going to be infiltrated by all types of like birds,
Animal.
birds' nest, worms, like all kinds of stuff. So maybe they're counting everything, and that's where I think some, some carnivores maybe count all of them, and then maybe some vegans don't consider a worm an animal. Maybe they only consider stuff that's like fuzzy and furry and got big eyes, like rabbits or something. Like it depends, like what.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't kill mosquitoes.
Yeah, right.
I don't kill mosquitoes, man.
You don't
But,
kill mosquitoes?
I don't kill mosquitoes, man. And honestly, they don't. I don't know why, but lately they're not biting me. Actually,
You're eating a lot of garlic. That's why.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I don't kill mosquito anymore neither. And sometimes I have this tree because I live in a camper. So when it gets in the night time, actually insects get in. I ignore them. I don't kill them, and they actually, I don't know. Maybe they know I love them. I don't know. I actually hate them. I hate them too, but I don't kill
Man,
them. I leave them be.
I feel like we're talking where we both want like the same things. We're just saying it in a different way. And you want
you want less suffering as well, I think, right?
Yeah,
but we should, in order to. That's the thing again. We can have, if we want an animal, if we want a world when we recognize animal, we respect animal individual. We should eat plants and improve systems and society in that direction, instead of trying ways to, kill animals in a better way, because you're still taking life away from them.
What about the idea of how unnatural it is to have large amounts of fields planted with one single crop? Like that's not natural, right? Like for Mother Nature, for our ecological system, that's not sustainable, right?
Sustainable, I think. Well, again, I think it's more sustainable than having the plants for humans plus all the plant for the animals. Because again, let's put some number. We have 3 trillion animals in the animal agriculture industry, and there is 10 billion humans, right? So they outnumber us by far, a lot. So they need to eat food. So this is definitely not sustainable. But again, I think there is this concept that maybe one vegan can save the world. But I'm not the guy. I'm just trying to push a good message across. But I know in Africa, for example, there's this guy that it plants. So basically, it's a mixture. What it does is a mixture between plant agriculture and wildlife. So I kind of mix it. So you got some trees between the crops and stuff like that. So I'm sure humans are intelligent and can find sustainable way to do things. Well, I don't have this solution.
That almost sounds like regenerative planting, like, because part of like one of the principles of regenerative agriculture is to keep soil covered. So when you're planting crops, you plant what's called cover crops and you keep the soil covered. But one of the ways that we have healthy soil in farms is with animals. So if you don't want animals involved, then how do you keep the soils healthy for your crops? Because I'm assuming you don't want like synthetic fertilizer, synthetic pesticides, glyphosate sprayed on your crops, right? So
I prefer not to. Yeah.
So how would, like, in a system like you were saying, where the animals go to a sanctuary and then we use land to raise crops, how would you keep that soil healthy?
I honestly I can answer that question. You know,
Man, I really, I'm gonna send you
I don't know.
whenever we get off this call, dude. I'm gonna send you a couple of and I'm not trying to like convince you to change your way of thinking or anything like that. I think you.
Oh, that's impossible.
I think you have a good message, and I think what you spread on social media is raising awareness about factory farming. I think it's really important, and I think it's a bridge to other things. So I find it to be very important. What I wanted to ask you is, do you on like what does a typical day like look for you as far as nutrition? Like, what do you feed yourself? Do you take any supplements? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that's something that we can navigate. So my diet is very simple. You know, for me, I want to be lean, so I prefer to know what I'm eating every day. So I basically eat the same every day, and that is in the morning I will have a peanut butter sandwich with a couple of fruit, with banana and apple. Then for lunchtime, I would have a sandwich with tofu and tomato salad, and then my other snack would be again nuts and fruits. Maybe be a watermelon, um, pineapple. Love pineapple.
I like pineapple too.
And then and then the evening would be my most nutritious meal. So that would be a mix of vegetables. I would cook this once per week, do a prep, and I would mix like broccoli, asparagus, potatoes, mushrooms. Which I didn't know. I find I'm not a fan of protein, but all protein propaganda. But I found out that mushrooms have a lot of protein,
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
and compared to the calories they have. So not considering the how many protein per 100 grams, but the calorie. And then I would mix seeds. So as a vegan, it's important to get as a person, it's important to get your good fats, omega-3 and 6s, and the best way to do that on a plant-based diet is through seeds. And I would eat that with rice. Rice, yeah.
Do you take any?
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Do you take any supplements?
Supplements. So supplements, yes. I do take creatine.
That's how
I
you're
don't know,
so.
I
That's
haven't flexed.
that's how you're
I
so
should.
jacked. I knew it. I thought you were on roids, man. I thought you were taking steroids, Stefano. Those big ass biceps you got.
No, I'm not taking steroids. And the creatine does add that maybe kilogram or two, depending on the person in size of water for sure. But I've been in and out of creatine to just test it, especially in the beginning. Like let's say, like my first transformation when I built my first, say, 10 kilogram of muscles, I didn't use creatine at all. That's something that I've been doing consistently for the last maybe 1 year or 1 year and a half, because I noticed by that something that I really noticed is true. You get a little bit bigger with creatine because there's more water. But what creatine does is basically you have creatine phosphate in the muscle, right? So this is molecule that keep the phosphate, and basically when you use energy with adenosine 3-phosphate, which is like three whatever molecule of phosphate, one goes away to create energy. And so the creatine phosphate breaks to recreate adenosine 3-phosphate. So what creatine does is get more of this, but it's stored in water. So because it's stored in water, you get a little bit puffier with creatine. And so I decided, and that the other thing is energy. That's something that I really noticed with creatine. You do feel a bit more energetic, and that gives you a little boost in the workout, push harder. So I decided that I wanted to continue taking it because I really felt the benefits. And then The only supplement that I take is B12. Yeah, so B12 can be found in animal products only, but really comes from bacteria. That's why we don't find that in fruits and vegetables, because everything is sanitized and clean. So this B12 that comes from soy is completely eliminated. So the animals and animal products we get their B12 from grazing, if they graze, and if not, if they are factory farmed, then they will be also supplemented with B12. Is there any supplement that I take? There's vitamin D, but just during the winter, because here in Malaga it's very sunny, so not really huge point to get vitamin D. And that's my diet.
How cognizant are you about eating organic, or like, do you shop locally at farmers markets to get your vegetables? Like, how do you go about getting all of
that? So I was eating organic, but unfortunately right now, like money wise, what's really increasing the bill. So I stopped doing it and buy less quality. I try to buy from Spain, things that are made in Spain to reduce the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
But apart from these are the two things that I try to do when I buy vegetables.
That's cool, Stefano. Man, I greatly appreciate our time today, and like I said, I enjoy following you on social media. I think you post great content. How can people follow you, get in touch with you? Are you on YouTube?
Yes, I'm on YouTube as well, but my main platform is definitely Instagram.
Okay.
So Stefano Vegan Calisthenics, and I can help you get started with both understanding a little bit of nutrition and also with a free workout. If you send me a DM saying six pack, and I have a free guide to help you lose fat, get shredded, and start training.
That's cool, man. I forgot to ask you, how tall are you, and how much do you weigh?
I am 177 centimeters, and I think right now I'm about 84 kilograms.
Oh, man, you got to be doing European. Let me do the math real quick.
80, all right, yeah.
80
pounds and
83 kilograms to pounds. Hold on 1 second. Oh, you're 182 pounds. And you said 133 centimeters?
177.
177. Oh, you're 5'9". Okay. So you're not, I thought you were like a little shorter. I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". I'm trying to get abs, Stefano, but I weigh 100. I'm 177 pounds right now. I think I need to get to like 168 to get some abs.
Well, you should follow me. You should follow my journey. I'm actually right now. I'm doing I'm doing a cut, right? So I'm on a caloric deficit, and I'm sharing almost every day a tip about how to lose fat. So
yeah.
You should follow my journey.
I follow it, man. Like I said, I like your stuff, so I appreciate it, man. This will come out in a couple weeks, and I'll tag you on Instagram, dude, and I'll put it on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. I'll talk to you later, bud.
Bye.
All right, bye.